Hello, my name's Howard Barth, and this is the second of 3 short videos looking at the needs of children who have experienced traumas such as abuse and neglect. In the first video, we looked at the issue of felt safety and the different aspects of safety. Kids need to be physically safe. They need to be emotionally safe, socially safe, and culturally safe. We then looked at the experiences of a young girl called Lisa, who lived in a group home that I used to work in. Lisa was 13 years old, and at one stage during a crisis, she ran off from the home and ended up getting drunk. In dealing with Lisa, we completely overlooked her need for emotional safety, and we're just focusing on the fact that she had disobeyed the rules and needed to have a consequence. It's been said that the central experience of trauma is alienation and separation. People who have experienced trauma feel alone in their experience. But why is that? It's largely because those who should have provided protection, that is, the natural parents sometimes, the caregivers, were unable to provide support, sometimes were unwilling to provide support, and sometimes, unfortunately, were themselves the source of the harm that the child experienced. Given this, many of the kids in care find it very hard to trust adult caregivers. It's been said that they could be considered to be adult-wary young people. Bessel van der Kolk puts it a little bit more bluntly. He says this: the essence of trauma is feeling God-forsaken, cut off from the human race. So clearly, these children have a need to feel connected again. Connected with the normal society, with feeling normal, and connected with caregivers who would look after and protect them. There are 2 aspects to this disconnection. One is a disconnection for all that is usual and normal in life. And the other aspect is disconnection from adults, adults who normally provide care and protection. Kids in care are acutely aware of how different they are. They don't live with their natural parents. They may not wear the name brand clothing or shoes. They may not know where they're going to live next year. They may not know who they're going to live with. They may have to make time to speak with caseworkers. Their parents may not be able to attend the parent-teacher nights. There are many aspects of being different, and these kids feel it acutely. In James Anglin's study of kids in care, if you remember, the most frequent word used by kids in care was pain. But the second theme that emerged from the kids was their hunger for normality, their desire to be the same as other kids. This deep sense of being different, of not being worthy, of not being good enough, is known as shame. And it's been said that kids who have experienced abuse and neglect are enveloped in shame. It's a very painful experience, and they look for a way out. And in many ways, the hunger for normality represents this yearning for an escape from the sensation and the feelings of shame. In the second residential unit that I worked in, we had a minibus. There were 10 kids in care, and we used to travel around in the minibus to school, to outings, to events, and that sort of thing. The kids hated riding in that minibus. And the main reason was because it had the name of the donor organisation painted on the side. And they felt that it marked them out as being different, as being less than. In fact, kids from the home up the road, they just hated getting into that bus. So eventually we took the details of the donor organisation off the side of the bus. That improved matters, but it didn't solve them, particularly going to school, because how many other kids go to school in a minibus with a bunch of other kids? Again, they felt that going in the bus marked them out as kids from the home, as perhaps defective in some way. So we compromised and we worked out an arrangement whereby we would drop the kids a block or 2 from the school, and they could walk alone or in pairs, but they could walk to school in the way all the other normal kids walk to school. This powerful drive for being normal. One of my colleagues, John Seater, spent many years in foster care and in residential care, and he was reflecting with me one day about how he felt as a child in care. And he remembered quite clearly things like visiting the homes of other kids, his friends at school. And he could remember how he felt when he was doing that. And this is one of the quotes from John. He says this, he said, "You always felt different. You knew you were different. You couldn't be at someone else's house without feeling a freakishness." Now, John also said it was not good different, not unique in a positive way type of different. It wasn't a proud difference like marching to your own drum, but he said it was a shameful different. I felt as if I was somehow less than my peers in just about every way. What he's describing is shame, and the deep sense of shame and how kids yearn to escape that sense of being different. So we need to focus on ways that we can normalise the lives of the kids we look after. Of course, we can't do that entirely. They're still in care. But we can, as much as possible, give them normalising experiences, mixing with kids from the community as much as possible, joining sporting teams, theatre events, church youth groups. Whatever is seen as normal in the community, these kids want to be part of normality. John also describes the time that his social worker felt it would be good for him to join a basketball team because he showed some talent. The social worker saw it as a way of improving his physical fitness and thought it would be a good outlet for John. John saw it another way. He said, "When I joined that community basketball team, I was no longer an orphan. I wasn't the kid in care. I was part of the basketball team." For him, it was a powerful normalising experience. And it just shows how powerful that need is for kids to be normal and to be seen as normal. But there's also a strong need to connect, not just with the normal community, but to connect with adults in general, particularly those adults who are caregivers. These kids find that very hard. Their early experiences mean they lack trust. They don't want to make themselves vulnerable to those that want to look after them. In fact, John, again reflecting on his early experiences, says that he became adult wary. He wasn't hostile, he was just wary. He found it hard to trust and let down his guard. There's now quite a lot of scientific evidence about the power of relationships. We know, for example, that in the helping professions, the nature of the relationship between the helper and the person being helped is actually more powerful in terms of bringing a positive outcome than the actual techniques that are used. In some recent studies on resilience looks at kids from disadvantaged circumstances that have made good, that have been a success despite the odds. And in the research looking at why those children succeed, the power of supportive relationships always seems to be the most important predictor of success. So it's much more to do with how we relate in terms of warmth, reliability, sensitivity, empathy, those sort of things, than it is to the things that we teach kids. Bruce Perry, one of the preeminent researchers, says this: "It's not programs that change people, it's people." I wonder why we spend so much time trying to improve our techniques when the research is so clear. It's to do with connections. Perhaps we should be focusing on how do we improve our connections? What are the strategies we use to improve the way we relate to the kids and the way the kids relate to us? So we need to focus on building those connections. And there's no secret formulas here. Many foster carers know how to connect with the kids in care. It's to do with spending time with them. It's to do with listening to them. It's to do with doing activities together. It's to do about caring about their concerns. There's no magic about it. It's to do with commitment to the kids. It's also about being open, being honest, being reliable, and in every way proving to the kids that we are trustworthy. So in a crisis, it's very important to remember that our main priority is to preserve and build the connection with those kids, rather than correcting them, rather than focusing on teaching them how they should behave. With Lisa, we got this a little bit mixed up. We focused on teaching her a lesson, not on what was driving her behaviours and the problem with alcohol, which probably was to do with the fact that she wasn't able to manage her emotions in a more effective way. Maya Angelou, that great American author and poet, was no stranger to childhood abuse. In fact, at one stage in her early life, she was horrifically abused, and as a result, she did not speak for 5 years. She is what they call an elective mute. She felt that words were dangerous. She tells us this. She says, "I may not remember what you said. I may not remember what you did, but I'll always remember how you made me feel." It's to do with interpersonal connections. So we've now explored the first two core needs of children who have experienced trauma. The first is the need to feel safe. The second is the need for healthy connections, both with the normal community and with adult carers. I'd just like to leave the final word to Bruce Perry. He says this: the more healthy connections a child has, the more likely he will be to recover from trauma and thrive. Relationships are the agents of change. Thank you.